everybody, it's the Alco Diesel Guy with another Will It Run for you. This is a custom-painted Alco rsc2, which I picked up on eBay. I think I paid around 60 bucks for this, about 50 bucks, 60 bucks, something like that. What attracted me, of course, is the custom paint scheme, but most notably the price, and the reason for the price, as is typical, and as for the reason for this video, is that it doesn't actually appear to work, or I'm told by the previous seller it does not run. So I'm going to now take this thing apart and see what I'm working with. I don't know whether this has actually been DCC converted, so I'm going to try a simple technique to see if it is. I'm going to put this on a DCC track and see if it gives a horrendous scream. First, I'm going to attempt to get it out of the box without breaking it. Doesn't look like this was packed correctly. I don't know what happened to this thing. It doesn't look like... Yeah, it looks like this wasn't put in the packaging the right way because it's just been squashed in here. Again, I'm not saying this, but a lot of time you get people again online who don't know how to sell these things. It looks like it's supposed to be in this way, I have to say, but yeah, this can't be right. This is not in right here. It just isn't. There's no way it can be. It is the right package. It's an rsc2. Get a little background. These do have 6-axle trucks. They are essentially a 6-axle version of the RS2 from Alco, but the difference is that the C designates that the center axle in real life is not powered. Of course, in the models, because of the complexity of making something like that happen, the center axle is in fact powered. So it's kind of moot, to be honest. Now, with that disappointment, let me go ahead and hopefully not find another one. I'm going to go ahead now and drop this on a DCC track and see if it makes a horrendous sound, to see if we have a DCC decoder in it. Yes, I know there are other ways of finding this out. I could just simply take it apart, but the rule I have is to never disassemble something until you are sure that it needs to be disassembled, because you never know. So, got this engine right here. I've got my MRC DCC system all set to go. I'm just going to re-rail it, put it on my DCC track, and make sure the DCC system is plugged in, which tends to help a lot when you're trying to test something with DCC, incidentally. Yeah, I'm just testing it there. Oh, where's my throttle? Again, this is an MRC Prodigy Express squared, which has the backlit display on it, which is the big difference, and a little bit more voltage from the previous Prodigy Advanced. Prodigy Express, pardon me. Again, the Advanced is the more, as the name implies, is the more advanced variant. This is the basic one, more minimal outputs, but it is capable of doing multiple addressing. Everything else. See, right now my screen just came up. I don't hear a horrendous scream, so that tells me that this might be another one of the cases of having a DCC-equipped locomotive that no one knew how to test correctly. So, let me make sure that this track is connected correctly here, that we have the actual main power hooked in. Yes, we do. And let me try to see if I can make this thing move now. This is number 81, so let's go now on my advanced squared here. The command on these is a little bit different. Loco 81. Enter to lock it in place. And now I've got that in place. Let's now throttle it up gently. Nothing. Okay, I'm not going to get discouraged just yet. Let's see if I have a headlight. Nothing. I don't hear any hiss. I don't hear any crazy sounds. So unless the conductivity is completely shot, which I doubt, it should by all rights be working. As I should get some response if it's put on the track, unless the motor is completely seized and not getting any power at all. Let's go ahead now and try another thing. Let's go to an address of like 3. That's the default address for all decoders, is always going to be an address of 3. So to do that here, I hit Loco, hit 3, and then hit Enter again. And we'll see if it does something. Throttling it up. And again, nothing. But also, I'm not getting any noise. So that tells me this might be a DCC-equipped engine that simply needs to be reset, which is a lot of times what I get these things like. Let me go ahead now and try a few other things. I'm going to go ahead now and pull out my program connection and change this over to a programming track. Going to reset CV8 to 1, I believe that is. I'll go set that up and I'll do the procedure on that. I believe that's CV8 to 8. Let me double check to make sure. Haven't done one of these in a while. Okay, so again, what I've done is I have 2 Bachmann Easy Command plugs, just to translate what I've done here, on this booster station for the Prodigy Express squared. What I've done is I've taken the one for the programming track and plugged that in here. Actually, just to make sure I didn't confuse them before, let me try this 81 just to make sure. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I've had that happen a couple times to myself. I am a little tired. No, I didn't do that. So I'm going to go now and hit the program button on here. And I was correct. It's going to be program track. We're going to hit enter to enter the programming track menu. Go through all these. Choose CV. Go 8. It's going to ask you for CV number 8. And the data is going to be 8. Hit enter and see what happens. Nothing. Didn't respond, period. That could be a good or a bad thing. Let me go now and take this plug out and try putting the power back to it from the main line and see if that will... I mean, that was the main track that was just in there. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so I may have just found the problem. I may have had the plugs reversed. Let me just check here. Is this the programming track now? Yes, it is. Let me go one more time here and put the main track back in. Pardon me, folks. You can tell I'm tired. Yeah, that's the main track right now. Let me go put that back in again. That may actually not be dead after all. Let me go loco. I'm on 81. Let me go and see if I get any kind of response from it. I'm not. It should do something. Let's go back to locomotive 3. Nothing. You should always get some kind of response. Let me also do a spark test on my track to make sure we're getting power here. So I've got a screwdriver here. I'm just going to place it apart and see if I get a short. Ah, yep, there it is. So I am getting power to it. It is taking power. The power is definitely going to the track. The engine may not be getting power, but the track is, which is what we want to isolate. Let's go now and switch back to the programming track, which is, in fact, the programming track, and try to reset this one. So I got my program track plug. Going to plug it right into this Bachmann Easy Track section here. And we're going to ask it to go to CV8 and reprogram that. So let's go to prog track. Go all the way through to CV8. CV, choose 8. Data is 8. Let's see if anything happens. Well, I think I heard something click. See if this actually worked. Let's go back now to the main track power. I love these easy command plugs because you just plug them in and out. It's just so easy to swap things over. Let's now try that again. This should now respond to its default address of 3. Do I have lights? No. Let's try throttling up. Sometimes that'll motivate it to work. Nope, I don't have that either. So this is really strange. It's completely dead. It's not responding. Let's now try analog power, just for you-know-whats and giggles. You never know. Let's go grab my old Bachmann power pack and try that out. Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but my prehistoric Bachmann power pack is in operation. You can tell because of the buzz. I've got this connected to this is now a DC power pack, so let's see if this does anything for it. Throttle up. Again, nothing. Throttle back. Nothing. This is very bizarre. Something is clearly wrong with this locomotive, which I knew to begin with. So yeah, I know I hate to be Captain Obvious, but clearly there's something wrong here. The problem with the locomotive currently is, well, it doesn't work. As to why it's not working, well, that's another story, which I intend to get to the bottom of right now. So, we know the engine won't work on either DC or DCC power, which is quite peculiar and not a good sign. Let's go take her apart and see exactly what happened here. I'm wondering if the motor isn't seized on it. Going to get this apart, same usual procedure, just carefully spread the frame apart and just kind of gently wrestle it up. I would assume this has DCC on it, and oh yes, it does. This is probably what our problem is. I'm thinking this board bit the dust at one point. Ooh, this has got an unconventional wiring system on it. Okay. As you can see here, someone... Oh, who the heck did this? Oh. Was someone really this stupid? Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to collect my thoughts. There is a naked wire running to the DCC decoder that is not insulated, running along the sides of the frame. I'm speechless. Oh, I'm assuming it's isolated this way, but I just don't understand who would do something like this. For God's sakes! No wonder this thing doesn't work. This decoder has been fried, I'm pretty sure. Let me go ahead and mess with this a little bit. I'm going to try taking this wire out. I'm pretty sure this should not be wired here. Some genius thought this was a smart move. I mean, how can you be so dense to think that this is a smart idea? This naked wire is going right across the frame itself. I guess the idea of this is going to make better conductivity. The problem is you can't do that with this decoder. It'll spike it. Oh, why do people do things like this? Why? If you have a conductivity problem, you fix it by cleaning the wheels. You do not fix it by doing things like this. And if you look at the wheels on this engine, they're filthy. But instead of cleaning the wheels, it appears that someone is just plain nuts decided to wire these wires across the frame. I don't know how to respond to this. I honestly don't, folks. I am completely lost. Oh, Lord have mercy on my soul. And for anyone else's. Okay, folks, I'm back, and I'm sorry, but I had to take a break and just start losing my mind with some foul language. How can someone be so, and I'm going to try to be as nice, but I can't be nice, how can someone be so freaking stupid? Instead of cleaning the wheels, which are gungy as hell on here, is one of the expressions I've heard, someone decided that it was a good idea to run 2 naked wires across the frame and into the decoder itself. I just don't understand why you would do something so idiotic. I mean, this is just completely pointless and stupid. Who the heck thought this was a smart idea? Who the heck could be this stupid? I'm beyond stunned. Alright, so what I've done now is I've loosened up the screws on the side of the decoder itself. Gonna unplug my decoder. I put this back on the DCC track since we know it is DCC. I have loosened the 2 screws on both sides of the decoder. And I think I'm going to have to loosen it a little bit more. I'll show you what I did, in fact. What I'm going to try to do now is try to get power to this thing. I got to be very careful picking this up before I put the power on. Going to loosen this other one here just a little bit so I can move the decoder back and forth and just sort of mess with it and see if I can bring it back to life. Hopefully this isn't shorted out, but I have a feeling it is. If it is, I'm going to have to take this whole thing apart, rip these wires completely off, and hopefully not lose my marbles, not lose my crap. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I don't know how anyone could be so idiotic that they thought that this was a great way of fixing a problem with conductivity when all they had to do was clean the wheels. I'm sorry, folks. I just can't stop ranting. This is probably going to get mostly cut out. All right, so now I've punched in the number again, 81, and we'll try to see if we can make this work. And it's not responding. Let's go back to loco. Let me make sure I'm actually on the power track. Oops. That doesn't help too much. Let me make sure I have the actual programming track plugged in here. Actually, probably the actual mainline track. Here's the main track. That was the main track. I'll try moving this again and then try reprogramming it again. CV8 to 8 and see what happens. I thought I saw it flash a light before, so it might still be alive. Let's see if this thing will work. Let's go to 81 again. Let's try it again. Nothing. Let me try manually moving this backward a little bit. As I've shown you, just a little movement like that can sometimes bring a decoder back to life. Strangely enough, I don't know why, it just weird quirks, but I think this thing has been shorted out, but good because the owner didn't understand what they were doing and was so naive that they thought that they could just simply wire this in. I think they blew the decoder out and didn't want to admit it. I do have I think I had at least a second ago, I look for it. I think I have an analog board for this engine, so what I'm going to do is plug that in and see if I can make it work with that, and then I'll be able to diagnose it further. I don't want to risk a decoder until I figure out if this thing has a short in it or not. That's why I always hang on to everything, because you never know when you're going to use it. So 3 isn't working either. Let's go and try to reprogram this thing. Let me also try moving this back again. Let's now go to Program Track. Let's go to, again, CV8, set to 8. I think it responded. Let's go back to the power track. I gotta make sure I'm using the right command to reset this, though. I'm not sure which kind of decoder this is on here. Okay, so here I have found what I believe is a standard board for one of these units. I'm just going to wire it all up. believe this should still work even though this has been insulated already. I don't want to risk a decoder on this until I know for sure it's not going to shorten it. Now I just have to figure out how this goes in here. So I have it backwards. That was right. This is the bottom one that I have to make sure I have connected in here. It's always the worst to get in this bottom little wire, this little bottom pickup right here. Has to go underneath that, slip it in. This then slides forward underneath that and then backward, and then it'll work, I hope. It looks like someone actually did a number on this here. They actually cut some of the frame out here. I don't know what happened. That wasn't me again. This has just been hacked to hell. I'm pretty sure this motor is... I'm pretty sure this frame might be just... I'm starting to think this frame is destroyed in general. Someone really didn't know what they were doing and just hacked away at it. It looks like someone really worked the hell out of this thing to get it in there. So I'm wondering if that's why all this modification was done to this thing. This section here isn't where it picks up power, though. Luckily it's on the front. Just to hope that's where it is. If not, this might be why it's not working right. And why someone stooped to the level of doing all that. So that's the case. I've now inherited a frame that is essentially useless. I'm going to see if I can make it work, though. If this thing runs with the analog, I'll know I'll take a chance and try to put a decoder in it. Though I may have to reconsider it even then. There goes, that's in. Okay, I got it finally. Oh, really, I did not want to go in there, but considering how messed up this was, I'm not surprised. It's been abused, so I guess it has a right to be abusive back toward its new owner. That's what I will say about it. I think I have this one in backwards. Ugh, for goodness sakes. These things are going to fight me all the way, isn't it? Can you go a little bit further out? Yes, you can. Okay. So if I can turn you around 180 degrees and make you sit. Yes, I have. Okay. And I'm just going to put this back in here. Let's go in there. I think I fixed it. I think I did. Did I? Okay, well, I got it back together, I should say. Not necessarily fixed it, but yeah, I did get it back together. Let's see if this thing actually does something now. This is an analog board, so I'm just going to put it on an analog track since I have an analog power pack set up over here. I have my analog test track with my junky transformer. Get some of this junk out of the way. Don't want to lose that box. Alrighty, let's get this on here. Let's now turn my... plug in the rickety old transformer thingy in and see if I can get the thing to fire up. Hopefully not catch fire, but just move. So I can confirm that there's at least some basic conductivity here, and then go from there. Let's turn the power on. As you can see, the buzz means the power is on. These old transformers let you know they were working because they buzzed. Okay, so it's now on the track. Here we go, smoke test, so they're not too much of a danger because it's just an analog board. I have a whole bunch of those, and that wouldn't be in there anyway. I would switch it to DCC if I do keep this. Nothing. Nothing. Now, this is quite peculiar. This chassis is the problem in general. I mean, it's just not getting any juice. That is very strange. There should be some power coming through here. You have to wonder who did what to this thing. It should have some lights. It should have some power getting through, and it's not. Come on, please make contact! Oh. Oh, I got a light. It does appear that this is the problem up here. This front section has been worn out so badly that it is not pulling the contact off it should with this thing. That's why it's not working right. Someone took a chunk of metal out of here, and that appears to be why there was all those crazy antics done. So because this frame is broken right at that point, this thing is not able to make proper contact, and that appears to be what's wrong with it. So it looks like even if I do get this to run, I'm not going to take it much further except turn it into a part source. I do need a motor for one of these things. Looks like I'm going to be looking for a new frame because this metal you can't just reform. I could try to put solder on it, but if I'm going to put a decoder in there, you better believe I'm not going to deal with a unstable contact situation because it's going to make for a rough runner A and B if it does work, and B, A and B. I then also run the risk of actually having a contact of having it blow the decoder out because of unstable current. So I'm not dealing with that. Ah, getting a more consistent power on it now. So the directional lights are working. It's coming back to life slowly but surely. Kind of hard to tell with this strong light on it. But the motor itself is not rolling over. It looks like someone may have actually destroyed the whole motor on this thing in general because of what they did here, because this has been so badly shorted out. It looks like it took the motor out, because I am not getting any power through this thing whatsoever. This is a really badly trashed locomotive as a result. I keep messing with it, though. I'm not going to give up that easily. I'm going to try everything I can to get it going. Okay, what I can conclude after messing with this for who knows how long is that there appears to be a short in this chassis itself. The original board that I have for this type of locomotive doesn't really fit in it correctly. It looks like it's been modified. I have gotten the motor to sputter and spin over a little bit, but that's it. So I'm assuming there's some kind of short with either this board or the chassis, or maybe the motor itself is short. The bottom line, I can't go any further with this here. I don't have any test leads handy. I'm going to have to get them in. But either way, this locomotive is not going to be used as a locomotive itself. Again, this is strictly going to be a parts bin source. So I'm going to take this decoder board out, this analog board out, and put it into storage. And unfortunately, it's going to sit like that, and it's just going to be a parts source now because unfortunately it's been destroyed beyond any point of working on it because of this stupid piece of metal that was taken up by an inexperienced model railroader that decided to just tear it apart. Because the wheels were grungy, as you see here, or dirty, or whatever you'd like to call it. Instead of actually cleaning them, the person involved decided to just basically do the crazy hackery I showed before with the two naked wires and basically destroy a decoder and apparently short the motor. It does sort of work occasionally, but I notice it only works briefly and then stops. So I don't know if this was shorted out. I don't know if it's partly shorted. Whatever the case, I have my doubts. I'll be using this as a complete set, as a complete motor again. I may as a complete frame again. I'll probably, especially since that piece of metal here is broken. Another thing I found out upon further inspection, the two hook areas where this whole board hooks in are actually bent upwards, so someone really messed with this thing. Why they bent upwards, I don't know. But yeah, this is probably most likely not going to be used as a complete drive shell anymore because it's just not in condition to do so. And I'm going to have to declare this one a fail. I may eventually, when I get some test leads, I may give this thing a test and see if the motor will spin. But for right now, I can conclude that this basically is not going to work for me anymore. I can almost guarantee that this other decoder is shot. I don't even know what kind of decoder this is. It's prehistoric. It's an older one. But I'm pretty sure it is. It just doesn't want to cooperate at all. And understandably so, because again, you see all the hackery that was done to it. So bottom line, this is a fail. You can't win them all. What I did get minimally out of all of this, in addition to possibly some parts, this motor might work. As soon as I get my test leads in, I'll do that. I'm going to order another set of them and just go over it. But what I did get is a nice custom-made, I might add, a very well done custom-made rsc2/2 shell, which I can throw on another engine. I have another engine actually with a paint scheme with a number, as it turns out I already have, so I could maybe slip it on that. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold out to try to get an undecorated locomotive and just put a chassis underneath this one and reuse it. Meantime, I'm going to keep this safe because this deserves to get reborn again. It's just too beautiful to get rid of, so I'm going to put this right here. inside this plastic case so this is nice and safe and it won't get damaged. This will go into my parts bin, and when I get a chance, maybe later on, or I'll put it to the side maybe, and when I get my test leads in, because I'm going to order some, I can test this out and see if this motor is any good. But other than that, other than using it for parts, I'm afraid this will never be in service again. And so again, this is a fail. Can't win them all, but at least I have something to show for it. And that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Please like and subscribe, and as always, keep the metal side down. And take the motor out. We go the other gear shaft. These things are stuck in here pretty good. Just put them right here. And now I can pull the motor out itself. There it is. And you can look in here. This thing has seen some abuse. It looks like this burned a little bit too. Oh, that I didn't see. And it's a little troubling. So I would like to test this motor. I didn't give it a good testing last time. So now that I have everything hooked up, let me make sure I'm on 0 throttle here. I'm going to plug my alligator clips into this motor and see if it works. I'm going to leave it in the actual carrier plastic thing that allows it to mount inside the chassis. Focus, camera, focus. As long as this works reasonably well, I'll be good. So, hope that isn't sparking. Don't like how it sounded. And let me just hang on to this and gently throttle up. Nothing yet. Ooh, that's not good. It's not doing anything. Oh. Was that not attached? Is that the problem? I'm hoping this motor didn't get shorted out, which could have been considering how badly that other thing was damaged. And it looks like that is the problem. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay, now it's spinning. This one doesn't look like it's in particularly good shape either. And it's not responding again. That's not good. You have to sort of give it a helping hand for it to spin over. So it looks like the motor I was going to put in with my cunning plan is actually in worse shape than the motor it had in there. And I think that evidences again by that chassis I showed you with the damage on it. So it looks like I got 2 busted motors. Oh, wait a minute. I see what's going on here. Oh, I just caught something. This winding is not supposed to be there, I don't think. Let's look at that other motor I just took out. Right over here. And I think I found my problem. You look at the winding right there. It's right across the actual motor itself. And that's not where it's supposed to go. So this winding is shot on that one. It's actually in worse shape than what I took out of the other locomotive. So that really is not a good sign, is it? Oh, boy. And if you look over here, this kind of confirms that, because if we look at the chassis here from that one, if I can figure out which one it was again. Oh, right here. This clearly made contact with the frame, which is probably how it fried that other decoder. So this thing is really shot. It's worse than I thought it was. So, I evidently need a new motor, and I can't use these parts. So I shall have to get back to this project and investigate a new source for a motor here, or perhaps try to tear one of them apart. For the time being, let me put a pause to this project until I get my parts together and my act together, so to speak. So it'll be one moment for you folks, but it'll be a couple of days to an hour for me, or a couple hours to a day for me, or something like that.